Hey gang, I just want to give you 2 tips on how to make an extra $100,000 a month using your cell phone and your email address. So let's get straight into it. So the first thing you need to do is know that I'm just kidding. What I will do is give you guys some advice on how to pass a CompTIA certification. So if you would do me the favor of watching the slide presentation, it's going to show you what to expect on the test and how to best prepare to have success. Enjoy. Hey gang, it's Dwayne from ITMasterKey.com. I want to welcome you to the CompTIA 901 test prep course. So the main purpose of this course is just make sure that you feel comfortable with the way that the CompTIA 901 is set up, what to expect, what to do before, during, and after the actual exam. So after you watch this, hopefully you feel a lot more comfortable. Confidence level is a lot higher than it was before, because I know going inside the testing room can be daunting, it can be scary, it can just, you can just have nerves, so on and so forth. So just want to give you exactly what you need to expect going into the testing center or the testing room. So let's get straight into it. So this is stuff that you need to know, not the background, not the what it stands for, not who created it, but you need to actually know how to do the following things. You have to actually understand how to do the following things. First thing, how to rename a computer. Most of you guys know how to rename a computer. If you don't, you can try it with a virtual machine. You can try it with your actual computer. Just whenever you make the changes, don't save them, all right? But you need to know how to actually rename a computer. Second, how to add a computer to a domain. You need to know how to add a computer to a domain and know the difference between a work group and a domain. How to map a network drive. You need to know how to map a network drive and what's the purpose of mapping a network drive. So the purpose of mapping a network drive is pretty much creating a shortcut to a PC or a server that isn't actually connected directly to your computer. So it's another computer or another server that's on your network, and you want to create a shortcut to that server or to that drive. That's what mapping a network drive is. You have to know how to map a network drive. Next, know how to disable SSID, reduce range, enable MAC filtering, and create a passphrase. All of those things are related to Wi-Fi or wireless internet or your access point. So pretty much in your home, in your business, wherever you are, you probably have wireless internet. These things right here can actually secure your network a little bit more. So disabling SSID, that's just the name of the network. So if somebody comes in to your business or to your home, they won't actually be able to see the name of your network. Next is reducing the range. So reducing the range secures things a little bit better, because if I'm in my house, somebody shouldn't be able to see my network from in the middle of the street. There's something called war driving that people do, and they just drive around neighborhoods looking for unsecured networks. And then if you have your range all the way out there, to give them ample time to try and hack into your network. Enable MAC filtering. MAC filtering is nothing more than, I got 10 devices, and only these 10 devices with these MAC addresses are allowed on my network. Any other devices, they got to get out of here. They can't get on the actual network. Create a passphrase. That's just a password. Just creating a password. So those things all relate to your wireless access point. Easiest way to figure out how to do that, do it on your home network, because you need to do that stuff anyway to make your network more secure. Next, know the difference between the needs for, in this example, I use an HTPC and a CAD PC, but just understanding the differences between PC builds and what certain customers need. A college student doesn't need the same PC requirements as a video editor, if that makes sense. All right, if I create videos and posters and do a lot of graphic design, I'm probably going to need a lot more beefier or a lot more oomph than I don't know why I said but you understand what I'm saying. A lot more get up and go with my video editing PC, as opposed to just something I'm watching YouTube videos on and doing homework. So just understanding the different builds that you may need. So for for the fifth bullet, if I have a room full of computer parts and I give you 2 towers, one tower is for this kind of customer, this other tower is for that kind of customer, you need to know how to actually, okay, I will put this in this PC and I will put this in that PC. So just understanding how to build different PCs. know when to use IDE drives and when to use SATA drives. Basically just understanding the differences, okay, as far as the nomenclature or just the physical appearance of the actual drive. How do I know the difference between an IDE drive and a SATA drive? How do I know the difference between the cables? So on and so forth. So just knowing the differences. All right, so this short little video is going to show us exactly how the test is going to be, different simulations, different types of questions, and I'll tell you which questions are going to be on the test, which questions are going to be on the test, or just the question types, because CompTIA has a multitude, a lot of different tests, and each test has different things. Some tests may have fill in the blanks, some tests don't. So we'll just go through this video and see what our test is.
Are you wondering what it's like to take a CompTIA exam? This video will show you the different exam features and types of exam questions. The first item you'll see after the welcome screen is the candidate agreement, also called the NDA. You're allowed up to 28 minutes to review this document. These first couple of screens also show you how much time you have to take the test and the score you need to pass. The following features are available to help you during the test.
Okay, gang, so for this test, the passing score is 675. You got 90 minutes to take the test. Passing score 675. You got 90 minutes to take the test.
Navigation arrows allow you to move back and forth from question to question. The timer keeps track of time spent. A calculator is available too. Flag for review allows you to skip a question and come back to it later. Time permitting, any questions you flagged will be presented to you again. The review screen will be your final opportunity to review and make changes. Once you click End Review, you can't return to the question section. CompTIA certification exams are comprised of various question types. Type 1, multiple choice questions.
You'll have multiple choice questions.
Type 2, multiple response questions.
You'll have multiple response questions.
Software helps by giving a hint when you pick too many. Type 3, fill in the blank questions.
No fill in the blank questions.
You need to type your response. Be careful, capitalization may count. Type 4, drag and drop questions, as seen here.
You may have drag and drop.
Type 5, questions with exhibits.
You will have questions with exhibits. You will.
To view. Some questions may display a graphic or video as an exhibit. You may pause video files as often as you like.
Now, once again, I know when we get inside the box, we get nervous, we get scared, we get fidgety, but just make sure that you're looking at the question, and it may be a small little blue thing that says exhibit. If it says refer to exhibit A or refer to this exhibit, that exhibit, make sure you click that exhibit so you can answer the question. When I was seeing the exhibit, impossible to answer the question correctly unless God is on your side in there. And if you go to the testing center and you're clicking on it and it's not working, as soon as that happens, make sure you raise your hands, because most or all testing centers have cameras, so the person that's proctoring the test should be able to see, and they'll come in and see if there's an issue with the test, just so you keep on going. If you have any issues during the test, stop immediately and get the proctor so they can get it rectified.
Type 6, performance-based questions. Click Simulate to begin.
So these are the simulations I was talking about.
Environment or technology, and will require you to perform specific tasks. Performance-based questions are based on multifaceted scenarios. If you feel unsure, you may click the reset button, but you will lose any prior work when you perform this action.
So the simulations are CompTIA's way of seeing that you actually know what you're doing, right? So instead of just a question and an answer, it's going to be, you're going to have to actually perform something. So just like I said, renaming a computer or building a PC, you may have to do something. You may have to simulate an actual scenario and do something, right? So when we're doing the simulation, whatever it is, turn this on, turn it off, move this here, move that there, understand that the simulation won't give you any indication that either that you did it right or you did it wrong. If you click next, then okay, it's next. But it doesn't tell you anything. If the objective is to do A, B, and C, whether you did A, B, and C or you didn't, it won't give you any indication, no green light, no buzzer, no nothing that you actually did what you're supposed to do.
The timer is hidden during these types of questions, but the clock is still ticking. Since the question is simulating a real environment, be aware you may not see any feedback that you completed the task. When you're confident in your answer, click Done. To see an example of a performance-based question, visit certification.comptia.org/pbq. Before you click End Exam, you may be asked to complete a short survey. Afterward, you'll see your score. It's important to note CompTIA may add question types to its exams that you haven't seen in this video. Also, all translated exams provide the same functionality as English language.
Now, with this being said, if English isn't your first language, right? If you speak German or Arabic or something else as your first language, with my students, they've noticed that, because I've had students take the test in their native tongue and then take the test in English, and they said that they believe that the English version is easier because a lot of times that's the language that they learned it in. You know, like the first time they heard about a motherboard or the first time they heard about a CPU was in English, and maybe some of the words don't translate or don't really correlate in their language, if that makes sense. Now, feel free, if you feel more comfortable with, or if you don't know English at all, of course, you got to take the test in your language. But if you feel comfortable with English, as far as my students are concerned, even ones that are from out the country, English isn't their first language, they feel more comfortable and found a better success with taking the test in English. Now, later on, you can email me, tell me if you feel as comfortable, like I took it in Spanish or I took it in Portuguese. You know what I'm trying to say. I took it in Arabic or Italian, sort of. So Portuguese. That's the word I was trying to say. Portuguese. I took it in Portuguese, and everything was okay. Just let me know, and then I can update that. But my students that went through, they said taking it in English was the easiest way.
Clicking the Exhibit button on most translated exams will show test questions and options in English. The one exception may be performance-based questions. We hope this video helped you become more familiar with what to expect on a CompTIA certification exam. We wish you the best on your certification exam.
All right, so this is how the test is broken down. Like I said, the test is going to be anywhere from 80 to a maximum of 100 questions. You'll never get 100 questions, though. Most students get around 80 to 85, including the simulations. So we got hardware, networking, mobile devices, and hardware and network troubleshooting. And that comes up to 100% of the exam. Now, what I'll say is 100% of the exam is hardware troubleshooting. 100% of the exam is troubleshooting. 100% of the exam is, this is broken, why did it break, how do you fix it? So just make sure that your troubleshooting skills are up to par, because that's what's going to pretty much give you the most trouble on the test, is troubleshooting. All right, so things are going to be broken, and it's up to you to figure out what's wrong. And another thing is, the test isn't succinct. So you may have a question about printers, a question about displays, a question about mobile devices, a question about printers, a question about network devices. It's going to be all over the place. So just understand it's not set up pretty on the test. It's not 10 questions about printers, 10 questions about routers, 10 questions about displays. It's going to be all over the place. And almost every question is going to be a scenario about Tim did X, Y, Z. Now this doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? And how do you fix it? All right, so trying to go through this exactly the way the test is going to be set up. When you first go in there, you can go through the user agreement and all this other stuff, and then we actually try and take the actual test. So when you actually take the test, the first couple questions are going to be simulations. So not just simple questions and answers, but there's an issue, there's a problem, there's something going on, and they want you to fix it. They want you to use critical thinking to figure out what the issue is. So for example, let's say that we're inside the box, we're inside the certification room, and this is the question. The question is asking, if you have two users, one that needs a graphic design PC, another one that wants a home theater PC, right? Home theater PC, graphic design PC. Side note, that says HTPC. A lot of the questions on the test are going to be acronyms. So as you're going through your study material, as you're going through what you're going through, make sure that you understand what acronyms stand for, and if they break, what happens, right? So, and if it's a port number associated with it. But just acronyms in general, first things first, make sure you understand what it stands for, because if not, it's gonna make things a lot harder if you don't know what HTPC stands for, if that makes sense. All right, so we got a bunch of parts in the middle of the floor, 2 different PCs. Where do we think these parts go? The only part that we're going to use twice, let me see. The only part that we're going to use twice is the media reader. Other than that, everything else, put it in one, put the other one in the other one. So what do we think? What would go where? Give you guys a couple seconds to ponder this. We got a Blu-ray disc, high-end graphics card, a solid-state drive, 2 physical CPUs, a dual-core CPU, surround sound, media reader, multiple monitors, and a traditional hard drive. All right, so let's go through it, gang. For the graphic design PC, we want the 2 physical CPUs. Just understand that technically, in theory, a dual-core CPU is doing the job of 2 CPUs. You pretty much got 2 CPUs inside of 1 CPU. Only thing is, 2 physical CPUs are still going to be faster than 1 dual-core CPU. So that's why we put the 2 physical CPUs inside of the graphic design. Solid-state drive, that's much faster, much more durable than the hard drive disk. So that's why we put the solid-state drive in there. High-end graphics card, self-explanatory. It's for graphic design, so we want to make sure we got a high-end graphics card. Multiple monitors, so I can be doing a graphic up here, seeing a big visual representation of it. So that's why we want to have multiple monitors on the graphic design. Last but not least, I already gave you guys that, the media reader. All right, we can have that in both. So if that stuff's over there, we got to have the leftovers over here. So we got the dual core CPU, got the surround sound, because we want to make sure it sounds good. The traditional hard drive, and the Blu-ray disc, because we want to make sure that our movies and stuff look good. One extra that I would add, or just think of something extra. What's something else that would be super important on a home theater PC? Just think about it. Most of the time, you're going to be watching movies. It's a home theater PC. And nowadays, it's 2018. What way do most people watch movies and TV shows? Perfect. Great. So, a good, fast internet connection. Because you want to watch Netflix, you want to watch Hulu, you want to use your Fire Stick. So you just want to make sure that you have a good internet connection. Perfect. All right, so let's identify some of the following hardware. It's going to be easy for you guys. Top left, what's that? Perfect. Motherboard. What about the thing next to that? Perfect. Heat sink and fan. That heat sink and fan, we already know, cools down the CPU. Got the CPU, got RAM, graphics card, last but not least, the power supply. All right, let's go through a few more things. We got some words on the right. How do they match up to the pictures? So the words on the right are descriptions of these pictures, but where do those words actually go? Perfect. So that thing is the CMOS battery. Then we got the PATA. That is a PATA hard drive, and the way that we know that is because of the pins. Just remember that. We got pins on a PATA, no pins on a SATA. Then we got the video graphics card, PATA ribbon cable, got a SATA hard drive, crimper, and multimeter. And last but not least, we got a punch down tool. All right, so important ports to remember. Across all CompTIA tests, you're going to run across different ports and port numbers. So important ports to remember, at a minimum, I will say these right here, at a minimum. So you got to know the port name, what it stands for, and the port number that's associated with it, and what it does. Okay, so for example, what does DNS stand for? What does DNS stand for, and what does it actually do? What does DNS stand for, and what does it actually do? Perfect. DNS stands for Domain Name Server. Long story short, it matches an IP address with a website. So when you go on Amazon, your router pretty much looks at, okay, what is the IP address, or the DNS server actually looks at what is the actual IP address of this website that this guy or this girl wants to get to. Once it figures out that IP address, it figures out what the name of that website is, and then magic, it pops up on your screen. So DNS, without the DNS server, you would have to actually figure out what's the IP address of a website instead of just typing in the website name. So DNS makes our lives a lot easier. Let's do another one. RDP. If RDP is blocked or is not working, what happens? If RDP is blocked or not working, port 3389, what can we not do? Perfect. If we know what it stands for, it makes things a lot easier. Remote Desktop Protocol. We can't remotely connect to anything. If RDP isn't working, we can't remotely connect to anything. Last but not least, let's do POP3. POP3 is for what? What is POP3 used for? If we know what it stands for, it's going to make things a lot easier for us. Perfect. Post Office Protocol. So what happens at the post office? Mail. What kind of mail do we send on the internet? Email, electronic mail. So POP3, port 110, is responsible for email. Now, this is just a few ports, but just in general, as you're going through your journey, just make sure that you know these ports at a minimum. You're gonna have to add a few more, but just whenever you see ports, whenever you see protocols, what does it stand for? What port is associated with it? And if it breaks, what happens? What are the symptoms and how do I fix it? All right, so we got some connectors and we got some cables. So we got the connectors on the right, we got the connectors on the left. So what do we think? Top left, telephone cable. Middle left, that is a Ethernet cable. Bottom left, that is a coaxial cable. So what kind of connectors go where? Perfect. We got the BNC, RJ11, and the good old RJ45. RJ45, good. All right, so what tools are used for the cables below? So how do we terminate, or how do we actually cap off or put the end on each one of these cables? What kind of tool do we use? So for the top two, we can use the good old crimper. For the last one, we got to use the cable certifier. So RJ11, RJ45. The crimper has two small little slots, one for the RJ11, the other one for the RJ45. All right. So let's get into a question that has a picture for reference, just to get you guys comfortable, and let's see how you handle it. So this says select the best IDE configuration that will allow for redundancy of data and the best performance possible. Use the least amount of disk possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6 options. Which one of those would answer this question correctly? Looking at the question, it's one key word that's going to knock out some of these answers where they can't be correct. It's impossible for them to be correct. The main thing when you take a test, you have to take out the keywords, key things. Okay, what are they asking? What do they really want? And then go from there. So understand that IDE configuration. So what would the answer be? We know for sure it can't be the first 3 options because that says one SATA. SATA and IDE are 2 different things. If we look on the picture on the right, the top hard drive is an IDE hard drive. The bottom hard drive is a SATA hard drive. But they want the best IDE configuration. So we know the first 3 answers, it's impossible for those to be correct. So we got 1, 2, 3 PATA. The question says use the least amount of disk possible. We know it can't be 1 PATA because 1 PATA wouldn't give you any redundancy. 3 PATA wouldn't be using the least amount of disk possible, so it has to be 2 PATA hard drives. Hopefully you guys got there with me. If not, just look at this and just understand that. Look at the question, understand it, grab what you need to grab, and then answer the question to the best of your ability. All right, so the rest are going to be just questions and answers. You suspect that a computer is not getting the correct amount of voltage. What tool would allow you to test this theory? Perfect. A multimeter. Easy. Good. Which of the following expansion ports are specific to Apple computers? Which one of these are specific to Apple computers? Another word you may see is which one of these expansion ports are proprietary to Apple computers? Which one of those are proprietary? Thunderbolt. Perfect. Good. A technician finds an external drive with the markings 1394 on it. What kind of cable will he need to connect this drive? What kind of cable? What protocol is 1394 over? What does that actually govern? Perfect. Good. Firewire. Good. True or false? If a user's wireless connection suddenly stops on a laptop computer, you should check the wireless access point first. Now think about this, gang. If a user's wireless connection suddenly stops on a laptop computer, you should check the wireless access point first. So, another thing, no true and false questions on the test, but I want to throw this in here just to get you guys really thinking. All right, with no other information, this is what the question is. What would you answer this? Would you say true or false? If you don't have any internet connection and it suddenly stops on your laptop computer, you should check the wireless access point first. Is that true or false? Hopefully you said false, because think about it, gang. If you're in Starbucks or the library or wherever you're at and you're using their Wi-Fi, you can't go check the access point. If you just start, going behind the counter and unplugging stuff, moving stuff, you're probably going to go to jail. So you don't want that to happen. So just make sure that whenever you see stuff like this, that you just think about it and say, okay, well, I would probably try something different. All right. The easiest thing to check first is the user system. Make sure you got the Wi-Fi on. Make sure you connect it to the right access point. All right, so Tim added a sound card to a motherboard with integrated sound. He follows installation instructions and updates the drivers. Now the audio doesn't work at all. What's the problem? What do we think? Perfect. He needs to disable the integrated sound. Now, some of you may say, well, why wouldn't he just say that the audio was muted? That's kind of like an implied task when it says he followed installation instructions and updates the drivers. That's kind of like an implied task. So just make sure you're looking at those little nuances as well. True or false? Many current Intel CPUs use a land grid array LGA-based socket that doesn't include pinholes. Is that true or false? Perfect. Simple. True. LGA, the L and LGA stands for LAN, so pretty much gives that away. Mike wants a new hard drive that's affordable, has 500 gigabytes, and that will make his OS run most efficiently. Out of these options, what would encompass all of those things? Another thing is make sure that when you're looking at the questions that you answer each portion. Make sure that your answer answers each portion. It can't just be, okay, that's 500 gigabytes and to make his OS run most efficiently, but it's not affordable. It has to be affordable, 500 gigs, and make his operating system run most efficiently. So we look through these options and tell me what you think. So out of these options, it would be a hybrid drive. A hybrid drive combines both a traditional hard drive and a solid state drive, and a lot of times you can find them at a cheaper price than an SSD. So the traditional hard drive would be where you would store all the files. So you would have 500 gigabytes or a terabyte, however much that is. And then the part where it says makes his OS run most efficiently, you would put your operating system on the solid state drive part, and that would make the operating system run most efficiently. Then, like I said, it's usually more affordable than a traditional solid state drive. All right, which of the following are good ideas when it comes to batteries? Choose two. Easy, perfect. Keep the contacts clean by using alcohol and a soft cloth. Store them in a cool, dry place. Good. True or false? A standard thick client should meet the hardware requirements for Windows and typical desktop applications. Don't think too hard about this, but think. A standard thick client should meet the hardware requirements for Windows and typical desktop applications. What we think? Perfect, simple. It should. A thick client should be able to do whatever you need it to do. Whatever the day-to-day stuff that you do, the thick client should be able to handle what you throw at it. Oh, and that's a good thing. Thick and thin has nothing to do with the actual physical form factor of the PC or the laptop. It has nothing to do with that. Thick and thin is more to do with what the actual capabilities of the device is. All right, so the blank connector is a miniature version of the SC connector. So the SC connector is a connector for fiber cables. So we automatically know that we're talking about fiber. But the blank connector is a miniature version of the SC connector. What is that connector called? Perfect. The Lucent connector. All right, so we got the Lucent connector is a miniature version of the SC connector. All right, which of the following control panel applets in Windows will display the amount of RAM in your PC? Where do we go to figure out how much RAM we have in our PC? Perfect, simple. You go to system, easy, easy, easy. Your computer has been configured with the incorrect gateway. Pick an option that applies to you. Remember, gang, your gateway is your router. Your router is your gateway. The IP address of your router is the IP address of your gateway. The main purpose of your gateway is to get on the internet. So going back to this, your computer has been configured with the incorrect gateway. Pick an option that applies to you. What do we think? Easy, easy, easy. Good. So can communicate with people on my network, but can't leave my network and talk to anybody else. Because remember, if I got the wrong gateway, if I don't know where I'm at, if the router doesn't know where I'm at, I can't leave my network, all right? Because I don't have the proper gateway. If I have an incorrect gateway, no internet for me at all. There are 10 laptops in a room, and they all need to connect wirelessly to a network. Which of the following is the best option to use? Easy, perfect. Just set up that access point and give them the SSID and let them all connect to it. Easy. Now, a printer question. What is the laser printer process? So a laser printer goes through a 7-step process to actually print out a document. So what is that 7-step process? The last step is cleaning. What's the 6 steps before that? We need to know these 7 steps. So what are the 7 steps in the laser printing process? These are the 7 steps. We got processing, charging, exposing, developing, transferring, fusing, and cleaning. So it's easy for most students to remember processing and cleaning, but the stuff in between that is a little difficult to remember. But just say it a couple times, chant it to yourself until you commit it to memory, and then you'll be good. True or false? If the Wi-Fi antenna isn't reconnected, it will affect 802.11 performance. Think about this, but don't think too hard. Of course, it'll affect 802.11 performance because 802.11, where there's A, G, AC, all of that governs Wi-Fi. Just remember, 802.11 is Wi-Fi. Anytime you think or anytime you hear 802.11, that's talking specifically about Wi-Fi. Okay, what ports do POP3, IMAP, and SMTP use? All 3 of these things are talking about or concerned with what service. What does POP3 do? What does IMAP do? What does SMTP do? Okay, good. It has to do with email, but what ports do they use? So we know that it's for email, but what ports do they actually use? Perfect, good. So we got 110 for POP3, 143 IMAP, and 25 for SMTP. Okay, which of these applies to the concept of Ready Boost? Remember that Ready Boost is something that Windows came out with that actually allows you to use the space off of a removable thumb drive as RAM. So which of these apply to that concept? Choose more than one. Choose more than one. Okay. Windows Vista and later versions. Anything else? Pretty much already gave it to you. Good. So enables removable thumb drives or memory cards as dedicated virtual memory. Good. What is a USP used for? UPS. What is UPS used for? What is that used for? What do we think? What is a UPS used for? Perfect. Easy. Providing backup power during a blackout. Uninterruptible power supply. As soon as the power goes out, that pops up and starts working for you. Good. What is the technical term for the size and the shape of the motherboard? First word starts with F. Second word starts with F. What is the technical term for the size and the shape of the motherboard? Perfect, gang. Good. Form factor. Good, good, good. So that was the last question. If you want to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, join a Facebook group. If you want to roll inside of a course, hopefully I see you soon. But my main objective is that you guys feel a lot more comfortable with taking the test than you did before you started this course. If you want to enroll in any other courses, itmasterkey.com is where you can find me. And other than that, gang, email me. My email is at enroll@itmasterkey.com. And just let me know when you pass the test. Let me know when you pass the test. Let me know when you take the test. Any struggles that you may have, you can talk to me, so on and so forth. Other than that, though, have a good day.